You're listening to Top Line Toronto with Nick Lyne, Brady Ricketts, and Jordan Voth.
Welcome back to another episode of Top Line Toronto. I'm Brady today, joined as always by my good man, Jordan Vother. Vother, how are we feeling? I know we're both kind of, I think everyone in the lineup today is battling a bit of the cold bug going around, but how are you feeling today?
Not too bad. Playing a little injured. Voice doesn't sound as crisp as it might normally, but
not as milky for sure.
Not as milky, yeah. But you know what? We'll play through injury and we'll battle. You know, but yeah, another week for the Toronto Maple Leafs, and let's talk about it.
So we still got a game to wait for tonight on our week that was. They still got the Minnesota Wild on the second half of back-to-back tonight. We'll see how that goes. But we'll start with what started earlier with the divisional rival, the Winnipeg Jets. Not the divisional rival for the Leafs, but the divisional rival with the Wild. The Winnipeg Jets, they were in town. I was lucky enough to go to the game with Nick. Huge Leafs faithful turnout per usual, which is very common here and with other Canadian markets here. A lot of fun, but that was definitely a game where I think a lot of the things that Nick and I talked about on the Jets show were like super, super apparent in this game, where like bit of a paper tiger moment where it really felt like a tale of two games where the Leafs like completely out-dominated and outplayed the Winnipeg Jets on 5-on-5, but the Jets were able to make it a game with their special teams, with 2 goals coming on their power plays and 2 goals coming from 6-on-5, delayed penalty and empty net. It's absurd to watch that team on special teams compared to the Jets or the Leafs right now. But what did you think?
I saw the same thing. I saw absolute domination at 5-on-5, and you know, like it wasn't even close. The Leafs controlled play all night, and then got off to a huge lead, and then as soon as the kind of game management set in, the power play goals and the 6-on-5 goals started going in for the Jets. Did the Jets score a 5-on-5 goal that night?
No, not once.
Not once, right? And all the Leafs were at 5-on-5.
So essentially what happened with that game, like it was so bad 5-on-5. At the end of the first period, Scott Arniel started making adjustments, not to the lineup itself yet, but to what matchup the lines were getting. And then in the third period, he completely put the 5-on-5 lines in a blender. And that's when you started to see a bit more of, I guess, an evening out on the 5-on-5 play. But they never cracked gold on 5-on-5.
Was it Ehlers, Scheifele, Connor that, like in the third, it almost flipped. Like if I saw Ehlers go up to the top line,
Velarde.
Yeah, and it immediately looks different. Like immediately that line started to look good, because I know, like I haven't watched a ton of Jets, but I've just been kind of peeking in here and there, and it just looks like that top line that they normally roll out just gets caved. And then as soon as it was just like last year, right? As soon as you put Ehlers up there, the results changed pretty drastically, and it looks like they went to that in the third, and they generated some momentum. Like their power play is unbelievable. Their power plays couldn't be more opposite right now.
No, it's like I said, it's a tale of 2 completely different teams and a tale of 2 completely different games in one set of 60 minutes there. Like what I thought the Leafs did a really great job of was really capitalizing on any sort of minutes that had Neil Pionk and Dylan Samberg together. They had an all-time terrible game this year. I think the 2 of them together had the number 1 and number 2 worst game score games this year. I think they were sitting around both -8 on that. Like that, I think, comes from finding a defense group or defensive pairing that you think is weak and just sicking your dogs on them with the Matthews and Tavares Nylander lines.
Yeah, you know what? It was funny. I was thinking a little bit about this too, because obviously we're in Winnipeg. We hear a lot about the Jets. And I was trying to think about like how I would feel if the Leafs were doing what the Jets were doing and what I would be coming on here and saying. And I don't think I would have the best things to say.
Oh, no, about the team in general, or just like what happened in that game specifically?
No, like just what's happening in general. Like I would not have the greatest things to say if the Leafs were on what are they, the Jets are 10-1 right now?
Yeah, I think so.
If the Leafs were 10-1 and they were doing it the way the Jets have done it thus far, I would not be sitting here telling you to plan the parade. I would be pissed. I'd be pissed at the 5-on-5 results and the recurring issues that, like, I would not be thrilled. Meanwhile, at the same time, I sit here every week and tell you that the only thing that matters with the Leafs is that the results are there. And the Jets have the results. They're 10-1. But the Leafs, they play well, but the results aren't there. So it's just, I don't even know what to make of it. And
so the Leafs did eventually play spoilers to the Jets getting that NHL record, because they did go on to win against Columbus and Detroit by a handsome fashion too. So I guess we do get to hang our hand on the result that we did play spoiler to that.
Yeah, I guess we did. But you know what? The Jets also, like, they went out and they took care of business against Columbus, which is a team that they should beat. Any team with Stanley Cup aspirations should beat Columbus.
Yeah,
Leafs got absolutely dumped by them last week.
Big time.
So, it's tough. Like, you want the results, but you also want the results to be done the right way. And right now, like, sometimes the Leafs at 5-on-5, they are doing it the right way, but it's really tough. It's tough to watch and not get the results, So yeah, let's move on to that Seattle game.
Yep. So that's another game. Another 5-on-5 domination. Like, that's another game without a power play goal from the Leafs. Power play goal against them with Eli Tolvanen. But yeah, 100% same thing. Great on 5-on-5. Top guys are doing exactly what they need to do. The Kraken have just come off that time at an 8-2 win off of Montreal, which cost Marty St. Louis to bag skate his group of the next practice. But that was also a game that the Leafs needed to get points from, and really should have, without guys like Vince Dunn and Brandon Montour in the lineup for the Kraken that night. And I felt that they did a great job. That game was going to be a test of, I think, how the bottom six of the Toronto Maple Leafs would line up against a team that also had really great depth. I mean, the Seattle Kraken might not have. I don't think it's too contentious to say that the Kraken don't have the same sort of upfront talent that the Leafs do, or a lot of the rest of the league does. But what they do have is 4 pretty great lines that can just go over the boards and leave pressure on the other side, shift after shift. But that's what I really came across in that game. Overall, like, strong game from Matt Knies in that top line again. I've also been continued to be impressed with Max Pacioretty in his time as a Leafs uniform so far, especially on that Tavares and Nylander line.
You know what's funny is I was looking at his stat line versus Tyler Bertuzzi's, and, like, if he continues to put up points like this, he's a great Tyler Bertuzzi replacement at a fraction of that cost.
Yep. And, like, one thing I've noticed about Pacioretty too, like, from a guy who's really been struggling with injuries the last couple of years, he's playing like kind of a crash test dummy. He is going in body first on a lot of plays, which is really respectable.
I've never known him to be that type of player, but yeah, he's done really well. And that second line with Tavares, Pacioretty, and Nylander has looked excellent. Like, there's been games where they've carried that team. So, Absolutely. I say, ride the hot hand that you have. I still doubt that we're going to get like an 82 game. We're not going to get like a long season out of Pacioretty. Like, he has a lengthy injury history, but for the time that he's here and he's playing well, ride the wave.
Yeah. So to kind of put in perspective how well that Pacioretty, Tavares, and Nylander line has done so far, they've started 3 games together and have played about 33 minutes of ice time. And so far, they have outscored their opposition 5-1 and outshot them 25-12 with an expected goal for percentage of about 85.89%, which is really great. Like, that's the kind of numbers that we were seeing out of very small sample sizes of like the Matthews, Marner, and Knies line early in the season when they were really dominating some of those lesser teams. So that's a line that I would really like to see kind of get carried forward in the next few sets of games and see if that continues on. Because if you can have 2 lines going over the boards of Knies, Matthews, and Marner, followed up by the Pacioretty, Tavares, and Nylander line, and both of those lines are, even rocking around 70% expected goals for percentage. I mean, that's a 2-headed dragon right there that you got to go up against. And then even the third line with like Bobby McMahon, Max Domi, and whoever, if they're just even at around that 50% mark, you're going to be winning majority of your 5-on-5 minutes throughout a game, no matter what your fourth line decides to fucking do. What this team really needs to lay in on is the power play. You cannot have this team with this talent running, and what we see in the pedigree of success on the power play we've had in the past, running at a 7.9% dead last in the fucking NHL.
Yep. The power play is unacceptable. I'm also going to go one step further and just tell you right now, like, this kind of production out of Auston Matthews isn't going to work. Like, you can't have him having the highest cap hit in the league on pace for whatever 30 goals. Like, that's not what you paid him for. You paid him based on 60 and 70 goal seasons, and for him to show up and only contribute 30. Like, I remember watching, I think it was one of the Leafs reports over the summer, like, you know, can the Leafs come back and be as good? And they said, well, Matthews is going to be good for at least 50. Right now, he's on pace for 30. Like, you're just not. And we'll talk about the St. Louis game, but I love him sticking up for Mitch Marner, even though it's a no-win situation. That's not going to work. It's just not going to work. And Mitch Marner also snapped an 8-game goalless streak last night. Yeah. And he had another one last year. Like, that's not going to work. You can't. He
does, like, Mitch Marner for sure has these, you know, like 2-week stretches where he just forgets to shoot the puck sometimes.
Max Domi suffers from that too. And then you see them just start ripping everything at the net and not, like, there's no balance.
But it's when they do go on those like stretches where they start ripping more pucks that they do seem to have a lot more success, you know, point wise. Like, we're also definitely, like, to touch on your point about Auston Matthews, like, we're absolutely still waiting for his kind of like breakout Auston Matthews game that we really expect to see. And where he goes, we still haven't really seen. Like, this is a guy who I think leagues the lead in 2-goal games by like a wide margin ever since he's joined the NHL.
Yeah,
we're still waiting on, I believe, his first 2-goal game this season. Like, I think for him, it's going to be one of those moments where when the dam breaks, it breaks pretty well for like a good 3-week stretch. We're talking about a guy in a 10-game stretch can score 20 and not even seem that crazy.
Yeah. Like, even, like, I remember this time last year, the thing that I was thinking about the Leafs is that right now, like, the only thing that carries them is if Matthews scores a hat trick, because he opened the season with back-to-back hat tricks. And
exactly.
Like, he just went on a torrid pace to start the year and nobody else was scoring. And right now, like, we have the fortune of having that John Tavares, Nylander, and Pacioretty line that looks pretty decent.
And a really great emergence of a third season for Matt Nyes.
Yes, that's
second season, I should say, second full season.
Yeah, that's what's really kind of carrying it. But if I would not go, like, Matt Nyes, I don't expect him to continue at this pace. Like, he's still a young player in his second year in the league. Yeah. John Tavares, like, let's not get ahead of ourselves and start thinking that John Tavares isn't being affected by age here. Same with Pacioretty, they both are. You know, that those things are all going to regress to the norm, and you're going to need Auston Matthews to be the guy that you're paying like the highest contract in the league to right now. Yeah. So, you know, obviously the empty net goal, kind of a cool trick shot. You know,
that was pretty nasty.
The pool shot, it's cool. I honestly, in the moment, I kind of was pissed off that he took it back into his own end of the ice. Didn't like to see that, and I doubt Craig Berube liked it either. But you get a guy who can make a shot like that and put the game on ice. You can't. What do you say? You can't.
They're definitely at the bench after that goal. They zoomed in on Matthews beside the bench, and he definitely let out a sigh of relief because I think he realized that one could have been a bit tighter than it had to be.
Yeah. No, absolutely. So with that Kraken team, though, I saw a Leafs team that just had more skill all over the ice than Seattle. And it was nice to see them win. Yeah. And like, you expect them to win, and they went out and did that, and there's no fuss about it. I have nothing much to say about that one. Like, if Seattle came out and whooped them 5-1, which is possible, I would have been pissed off.
Yeah. I was really impressed actually on the Seattle side with potential Team Canada dark horse goalie uh, Joey Decord. I thought he made some really great saves that game.
Okay, but like
He was busy.
every Canadian goalie right now that the Leafs play against that they make look like a Vezina winner, at the end of the night, they're always talking about their Team Canada bid. Like even last night in St. Louis, they were like, Jordan Binnington continues his bid for Team Canada. It's like, okay, like maybe let's try it. Like let's see some other games from Binnington before you commit to that.
So let's get into that St. Louis game because
yuck.
Another. So the Leafs end up losing the season series against the St. Louis Blues after last night. Another game where I think Jordan Binnington might have been around the 50 save mark the last time around. I think this time he was at 45, 46. Another strong game from him. Strong first period from the Leafs, I thought. They left the first period with a 1-0 lead. A much better effort in this, Craig Berube revenge game compared to the first one at least, but still not enough to get over the hump. And this is a game where I really think that like a lack of success in the power play lost this team at least a point, if not two, because overall 5-5, I thought the Leafs were the better team. Besides like 5 minutes where the Blues tied the game and got one up, but after that, like that's a game where you need like your special teams players to kind of boost you, and it doesn't happen yet, and it hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, I mean, you're throwing $40 million with a forward talent out there, and it's not doing it. It's not doing anything.
We saw a change in the power play units in the Winnipeg game. I don't know if Berube went back to the original ones in the Seattle game. I didn't really pay attention to that one, but I know for sure in the St. Louis game we were back to the initial power play units, and it's still not doing anything. Like I don't know what needs to happen, whether it's coaching wise with Mark Savard, or maybe it's something that the players need to just intervene and be like, you know what, we're just going to try and rock with something that's worked in the past. I don't know, but this team has not quite impressed me on the power play really since the Spencer Carberry days. I did not love the way that the last year's coach ran it, which I can't remember his name, Guy Boucher. I really hated the process that he ran that team on.
That was a terrible hire.
Yeah, I really hated. I didn't mind the way he thought about it. I hated the process and how he did things with practicing the power play without any defenders. I thought was one of the stupidest things I've ever heard in my entire life.
Yeah, that's dumb.
But
they've had some weird assistant coach hires, eh? Like DJ
like
Smith
Lane Lambert with the PK has been awesome.
Yeah, but like they had Dave Haxtell there for a minute. They had Guy Boucher. They had DJ Smith. Like they've had some pretty like weird guys come in over the years.
Oh, yeah, I don't understand it. Like,
yeah, no, it's they don't gain the zone very well.
No,
they don't.
And even when they do, it's stagnant.
Yeah, it's very flat-footed. It doesn't move very much. And then like I read Berube's quote after the game that they need to have a bit more of a shoot mentality, which okay, like they haven't had a shot from the point in a decade.
Not a dangerous one. Like the last true dangerous shot from the point was probably Dion Phaneuf, who was liable just to break a sheet of glass behind the net.
Yeah, like even him, like I would probably go back further and say like Brian McCabe.
Yeah, but Leafs go 0-4 again on the power play against St. Louis last night.
Yeah.
I mean, at what point can 0-3s, 0-4s every single night? It's going to lose you games in the long run, no matter how good your 5-on-5 is. Because four power plays for the Leafs, 4 power plays for St. Louis. That's 16 minutes special teams.
Yep,
that's gonna take an effect on the game at some point.
It wasn't 16 total though, right? Because keep in mind that the Blues had one that they called a penalty on, right? Yes, they did some of that stuff.
But 16 minutes and penalty minutes, no matter what, is gonna influence how the game, ends up being scored.
Yeah, and you're losing those minutes badly And there's no excuse for it. Like there's way too much talent on the ice. There's too much money wrapped up in that talent for it to just not produce results. And I wonder, so maybe this is for a later discussion, but I wonder how long it's going to be until Willie's little brother Alex gets a look with the team. He's torching it with the AHL. Like he looks too good for that league.
Yeah, the thing with him is you'd have to sign an NHL deal because I believe he's on an AHL contract only this year. So that would then take up another roster spot, which we already have an issue with that coming up with the return of Connor Dewar and Joni Hakanpää, who are currently on an AHL conditioning stint with the Marlies. They've already played a game. I don't know exactly how many games or amount of time they're allowed to spend with the AHL, but those guys are going to be knocking the door relatively soon. We've already seen a roster move that moved Timothy Liljegren to the San Jose Sharks for a couple picks, $3 million in cap space, and then we took back a contract with Matt Benning, who's already been reported to be looking to be, the Leafs are probably going to flip him, according to Friedman, so he expects. But that there's a lot of pieces right now that I don't quite understand what the move is going to be. I am kind of, after the Timmy Liljegren trade, I think at this point I'm kind of just going to be doomsdaying plotting them. Like I don't really trust what
you really think this season's coming down to whether Timothy Liljegren is a defenseman on this team.
It just makes me question what they think the actual problems are. And I
don't think they have a clue.
I really question how the talent recognition within their organization comes from. Like I don't understand how you let someone like Liljegren rot in the press box for, at least it wasn't like a half a season. But like I don't know how you can come to the conclusion that out of training camp, a guy who had a pedigree of playing top 4 minutes last year and winning them gets out competed by Philip Myers out of training camp. I don't truly understand.
I want to take you back though when you're saying that, because you're always talking about this with Timothy Liljegren wins his minutes, and that's wonderful. I want to take you back to Travis Dermott, because we watched Travis Dermott win lots of his minutes. He had all these wonderful tools. He was a brilliant skater. He was feisty. He had a little bit of offensive upside, and he would win his minutes. The only problem is that, he would win all of his minutes, but the one mistake he would make would be a no-look backhand pass in overtime in a playoff game. And in that 1 second, you undo everything you did in the minutes you won. And Timothy Liljegren, like, he doesn't have like a highlight reel like that, but he did do stuff like that where his decision making would cost you. Yeah. And so on aggregate, he won his minutes. And you should be looking at that when you're assessing talent. But I think the rope for him got short, and I think people lost patience with those kind of mistakes with him.
Yeah, I don't disagree. Like I just always found it a little bit rich at times too when there's discussion of Timmy Liljegren wasn't built to play in the playoffs. When this guy in his rookie season, first year playing North American ice, he won a Memorial Cup playing big minutes on the Marlies. Like I don't think that he truly got enough of a rope, if I'm being completely honest with you. How many years did we watch Jake Gardner fucking kick the puck around?
Yeah, no, Jake Gardner is another prime example of that. Another defenseman who won
Timmy Liljegren did not make the same kind of mistakes that either Dermott or Gardner made.
No, but you're right in that I don't think the Leafs management knows what the problem is. Because I think the problem is very obvious right now. It's the power play. Yes. And I still think that they lack scoring. And I wonder if, like, I'm not excited to see Joni Hakanpää. Like, what does this guy bring that the Leafs really need right now? Like, do you think this guy's going to provide offense from the blue line? The Leafs are still, like, kind of lacking there.
I know.
I'm excited to get Calle Yardcroc back. Like, he's a very good utility player. Connor Dewar, if you could get
I'm interested to see more. I think we just had such a small sample size with him.
If you could get him in and find a way to make David Kampf disappear, then I would be excited about it. But if he's coming in addition, it's more It's more hardworking depth guys, which you already have. Like, you have good guys in those roles. You have Steven Lorentz, and you have, Ryan Reeves. I'm a little frustrated with him, to be honest. You had a game last night in St. Louis where it got stupid. It got stupid, and Ryan Reeves was nowhere to be found. And you could debate whether that kind of stuff is relevant or not. But if you're paying a guy to be the designated stupid guy and he's not doing the stupid stuff, what do you do here?
Yeah.
That's, and that's frustrating, but he's actually, like, on the ice, he's been better than what I expected.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, guys like Hakanpää and Dewar, like, those are not going to be, like, needle moving moves. Like, I think getting Calle Jarnkrok back would be helpful.
I just think like Calle Jarnkrok, I think as soon as he's back, that middle six gets even better.
Yeah, but I think you got to find a way. Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead. Okay. I was going to say, even to touch on your Ryan Reeves point, like, yeah, he's supposed to be the designated, mix shit up guy. Like, I don't expect him to fight every night, but when
he hasn't fought at
all,
like
when guys like Marner and stuff are legit getting thrown around by dummies, like, I expect him to make his presence known on the ice against the other team. You know what I mean?
That's his role. That's literally
his job. Yeah.
Like, you're not bringing him onto your team for goals or offense.
Yeah.
You're bringing him on to do exactly that. So I still think like this team lacks scoring. And I think if you're looking, you got to be looking at the Marlies and seeing who is doing a good job down there. And Alex Nylander, he has lots of NHL experience. I think you got to try and like, I would swap out Kampf for Dewar in a heartbeat. It's not that David Kampf's playing bad. It's that for his money, I would take Connor Dewar over him.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what we have in Connor Dewar, because even last year, I don't think we saw him healthy. I think he was hurt for a majority of the time he was playing. But like you're saying too, like, the problem with this team is about as subtle as a loud fart in a quiet movie theater. Like, the power play is laugh out loud, stinky, terrible.
Yeah. And what would be like it wouldn't be the worst thing to add an Alex Nylander to this group and have him and Nick Robertson go out on a power play unit. Like, it wouldn't be the worst thing.
No, it's just at that point, like, really, like, we're hoping and praying on a guy on an AHL deal and a guy who's being healthy scratch right now to play on a PP2 and take this 7.9% power play to like a 15%. It starts with the guys who are getting paid the most at the top that need to figure that shit out. And Mark Savard should have his ass on the hot seat already. If not,
have you ever seen an assistant coach get fired mid-season?
No, you haven't. Which is wild.
So strap the fuck in, buddy, because that's what we're doing.
I want to follow up with kind of my last thought on the Timothy Liljegren trade.
Yeah.
And kind of put a bow on that is that I think in a year's time, when we start seeing the articles about the success of William Nylander or of Timothy Liljegren on the San Jose Sharks.
Liljegren, buddy.
Yeah, Liljegren, yeah, sorry. But like his success that's going to come, it's not going to be rejuvenating his career or finding the key role. It has always been there. It is just, I think the Leafs have do a terrible job at recognizing the talent they have on hand, and every other team in the NHL seems to know exactly the talent that's on hand with some of these prospects that end up on their team. Look at the Justin Brazeaus, look at the Trevor Moores, look at the Baseman Marchments, look at soon-to-be Timothy Liljegren, and probably going to be looking at Nick Robertson when he's likely dealt when all these guys have to come up.
Do you want to do like a weekly Liljegren, sorry.
I purposely stayed up to watch the Vancouver-San Jose game. And I mean, on the San Jose Sharks against the Vancouver Canucks, likely been labeled a cup favorite this year. He played his first game He ran the first power play for the San Jose Sharks. He won his minutes, outscoring the Canucks 2-0 during his time on ice, and I expect to goals for percentage of 70%. Sure, it's a small sample size on a bad team, playing against a good team, but that's just like, I don't think at this point those kind of numbers are complete coincidences with this guy when it keeps happening. But anyways,
well, listen, we'll do a weekly check-in on how things are going with Timmy.
I will. I fucking will. I feel aggrieved at this point.
I do agree with you, especially for a team that is lacking offense from the blue line. Like, I know Timothy Liljegren is not a world beater. He's not going to produce like Cale Makar-like numbers, but
No.
he's certainly more geared to that than a Yanni Hakanpää. And I do think the Leafs probably missed out there, but at the same time, like it's not like we saw lots of this guy and he was never that. So we'll see. We'll check in every week. We'll take a look at how Timmy did this week. You can get your rage out. I think this team is mid again. I think that's what I'm taking away from how many games have they played now? 11?
I think it is now 6, 5, and 1, so 11, 12 maybe.
Yeah, they're mid. That's what we got here.
Realistically,
are they better than last year?
I think 5-5. They're as good, if not better.
And that's being counteracted by a power play that is a pop gun.
Yeah.
Okay. They're mid.
Yeah, if that power play finds a way to get up to the 15-20% from here on out, like that's still not best in the league. That's about middle average. That team we're probably looking at this at like
top 10 maybe
an 8-win team right now for sure.
Yeah,
because they definitely win the Montreal game. They probably win the last St. Louis game if they get an extra goal.
Well, so we're 12 games in. How many games have we played now where 99% of the time you play that game you win? The Montreal one's 1.
Yeah. The second St. Louis game for sure.
That's 2.
There was trying to think off the top of my head.
They weren't close.
What was the Boston score? I think Boston was Boston probably is another one. If they get a power play goal, they win that game.
But that's probably not a game where 99 times out of 100 you win it.
No, that's definitely more of a toss up.
Okay. So they've played 2 of those kind of games already, 12 games into the season.
Yeah, top of my head for sure. Top of my head.
Okay. Well, let's keep a little running tally of those games because I love hearing that 99 times out of 100 we win that game. It's like, well, why does this fucking happen every 6 games?
I know. It drives you nuts.
Yeah, experienced Leafs hockey. What do we have coming up for the week?
I need to take a quick peek. So I haven't done that yet.
Tonight.
So we have Minnesota tonight. Minnesota is currently 7-1-2. Sneaky, really great team in the Central right now.
Yeah.
Central Division is wild now. Like we've talked about.
They went like 10 games without trailing.
Yeah, it was nuts. So like that Central, the Jets almost had a NHL record for a start of a season. And I think the gap between first and second is still like only 2 or 4 points. Like it's within a win or two. Like it's kind of absurd. We have Minnesota tonight. We have Boston again on Tuesday.
Oh.
And then we have on probably Friday we have the Red Wings, and then another back-to-back against the Canadiens.
2 games in a. Oh wait, do they play Detroit one night, Canadiens next?
Detroit on the Friday and Montreal on the Saturday.
Okay, so they're going to beat Detroit.
Yeah.
Congrats, boys.
Yeah. Like, I would like to see the same. Like, I want the Bruins game. I need that game to be the game that the power play pops.
Nope.
That's the one that needs to pop. This Bruins team is. They're not doing that great 5-on-5.
They're going to. Listen, you know what will cure a bad team? A nice night against the Maple Leafs. That is just what the Bruins need. I'll say they lose the Boston one. They lose tonight too. They'll beat the Wings on Friday and they'll lose to the Habs on Saturday.
So we have a 1-3 week from them on your end.
Yeah.
I honestly I would consider tonight I definitely want to see a better level of compete than we did on the last second half of back-to-back with travel that we saw against Columbus.
They have 16 back-to-backs this year.
I don't understand why there's any back-to-backs in this league, to be honest. I think
32 points worth of hockey in the standings, and they're gonna just excuse their way.
Yeah. This is
that.
like, I don't understand why there's any sort of back-to-backs in professional sports at this level. It's such a physical game
Every
that
team does it though. Every team does it.
I know every team does it. I just don't understand why. That's my thing. Even like I would be more or less, I'd be fine with like shaving 6 games off the schedule from 82 and just not having them, to be honest.
Yeah, but even if you did that, the Leafs would still have 12 this year.
That's 24, absurd.
That'd be 24 points in the standings.
Yeah.
That
or depending on
you're a
back-to-backs.
pro. You're a pro athlete. You know who does back-to-backs in their profession? Me. I do it
every day.
Tuesday,
Yeah.
every day, man. Every day is a back-to-back for everybody else.
Wait till they find out we do five back-to-backs.
Dude, you get to sleep all day and get prepped for the game. Like, don't.
Yeah.
You're a professional athlete. Figure it out.
So I would like to see at least a point against Minnesota tonight. I'd be pretty happy with that. That's a very good team on an unfavorable, travel and schedule day. Sure.
I was actually going to go to this game. I was supposed to be in Minneapolis for it, but my plans fell through a little bit.
Right, that's a pretty fun building to go to.
Next year, we should make the trip down.
Yeah, that'd be game. Boston, again, I wanted to see. So Boston has absolutely terrorized the regular season record against the Leafs the last couple of years. I would love to see a gritty kind of fuck you win similar to what we had with the Tampa Bay Lightning a couple weeks ago. That'd be what I'd really like to see out of that. And then Detroit, Montreal, just give me one of them. Preferably give me the Montreal win, to be honest.
So you're saying...
I'm going to go 2-1-1.
That feels more realistic. So 2-1-1 feels really realistic for the Leafs. Like, it's just kind of mid. And I keep saying, like, oh, they're going to go, like, 1-3 or whatever. But I just can't see them beating the Wild tonight. And then Boston, like, obviously I can't see them beating Boston. I can't imagine that. And then Detroit, like, the Yzer plan is
cooked.
Yuck. That thing is cooked, man. That is a bad hockey team. They've built a lemon there. And so, yeah, like, I could see them losing 2 in a row and, like, clapping back on a weak team like that and winning that. And then the next night, it's right back to the heated rivalry, the back-to-back excuse, Montembeault putting up Team Canada worthy numbers, and I could just see that one losing. So yeah, like, I got to go 1-3. Like, that's what my brain says.
Yeah. I don't blame it. We need to, like, honestly, I need to see proof of concept with the power play before I really start going into, like, my super homer, like, November run, give me a 4-0 week kind of stuff. Because with a 7.9% power play, it's just not going to happen. No matter how good you are.
You're going to lose. You're going to lose a lot of hockey games with a power play.
No matter how good your 5-5 is, no matter how good your goaltending is. Goaltending's been great so far. 5-5 has been great so far. PK's been great so far. You're losing games on the power play.
And, like, just like we were talking a little bit before we hit record here, but, like, the PK is top 10, but the difference between where they are in first place and PK is only like 5%. Like, their PK isn't so good that it undoes how bad their power play is. That power play is sinking them right now. Like, they need a league average power play. And honestly, given the talent on the ice, what they're paid, a league average power play is still way below expectation. 32nd place in 32 teams is completely unacceptable.
With the talent that's on that first power play unit, for sure, it's unacceptable.
It's losing you games. That power play should strike the fear of God into other teams, and right now it's dead last. Like, you have to figure that out.
It would be my first and only question if I was in the media pool every day off of practice or any sort of thing off a game. I'd be like, what is your plan to fix this?
I don't think they have one. Like, again, we've never seen an assistant coach fired mid-season. I think if it got really bad, like, let's say they go this week without a power play goal, or they only score like 1, maybe they do something where they move Mark Savard over to something else and they try a different coach on the power play, or maybe Craig Berube gets in there and starts tinkering with it himself. But if it gets to that, like, it's not good. Like, those aren't good. Like, that's not going to be a positive development.
The difference between just visually watching the Jets power play versus the Leafs one live it's night and day. The Jets one is so dynamic. The
Yep.
look from the shot is coming from anywhere. It could be coming from one of Kyle Connor, Josh Morrissey, Nick Ehlers, or Mark Scheifele.
Yep.
All of them are a threat to shoot. All of them are a threat to make a great play. And then you look at the Leafs one right now, where you have a generational scorer in Austin Matthews. You have this. I'm not going to call it like a resurgence of his career, but you have John Tavares, who's scoring goals so far this year. You have Matt Nice, who's scoring a lot of goals this year. Yeah, Mitch Marner, who's one of the best playmakers in the league. And Morgan Riley hasn't been a bum this year. Like, he's been playing fine.
Yeah,
but like whatever, they're playing like this umbrella that's stagnant, with Matthews and Marner the only movement being in that fucking lineup, and the only movement they're making is swapping the wings, whether it's strong side or weak side. That's it. It's crazy to watch. It's so stagnant.
Yeah, and like, you know, I said they don't have like a big shot from the point, but like OEL and Morgan Riley as your power play quarterback options, it shouldn't be the worst.
It shouldn't be as bad as what we've seen at all.
Yeah. And you know what's going to suck is, like, you know, every power play unit gives up a shorthanded goal. Like, it's inevitable. And I feel like we're due for one of those this week, where the power play unit goes out and they give up one. And I think we're going to see that this week, and it's going to suck. Like, it's going to be
almost saw it in the Jets game. Morgan Barron had a great chance.
Yeah. Every power play unit gives up a shorty once in a while, but it would be like super leafy and like just perfect timing for them to go out this week and do that. And just, you know, at that point, like, the fan base's hair is going to be on fire. But
overall, I think there are, you know, aspects of this Leafs team that are really good, better than we've seen in past years, on the side of goaltending, the defensive core. And I think the top, like what we've seen from that 4-group 5-on-5, I think there's promising signs there for this to be a good team. What is really handicapping this team at the moment, cutting them off at the fucking, not even the knees, the hips, is what is going on with the special teams right now, especially on the power play.
Yeah. I'll say that outlook from you is a little rosy for me. I think the goaltending's looked much improved. I mean, it couldn't have gotten worse last year under Samsonov, but it is improved. The D-core is improved, but
you're not convinced of the 4-group yet, which I understand.
No, I'm not.
Which I understand.
I'm really not.
We'll see what happens with the additions of Yarncrow and Dewar for sure.
That's not going to fix the goal scoring issue.
Well, the goal scoring issue is not really on the 5-on-5; it's on the power play.
Well, they're not scoring a lot at 5-on-5 either. They're driving play, they're controlling play, but they're not scoring. Like, they're still.
Yeah.
I think they're mid, and whether they're a little bit better than last year or a little bit worse is still what remains to be seen.
I think the difference between that is like this year and last year, where the better worse is probably pretty marginal. But the glaring differences on the special teams right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's still worth keeping in mind that last year didn't end well for them either. So if they're not much different than last year, then buckle up.
No, but fortunately or unfortunately, it always ends poorly for 31 of 32 teams. But I think that's about it for us this week, unless you got anything else you want to touch on today.
No, I'm all good, man. You get some rest and heal up, and
you as well. I can't be getting kicked to the couch anymore because I'm snoring because I'm so congested. That's bad for the program.
I can't wait to edit this and just listen to these squeaky voices.
I know, it's brutal. Like, I feel like I got like just the most. I feel like I sound like Squidward. But anyways, thank you so much for joining me this week. Thank you, Mikey, for being here. Thank you, Nick, for bringing me to the game last week. Thank you, everybody, tuning in this week. We will be back next week, hopefully with a bit more smiley and healthy demeanors on our faces, and hopefully a power play unit that decides that they're good and go for 50% on the week.
Would love to see that. You guys all have a great week. Thank you, everybody. Nick, Mikey, love you all. Have a good week.
This has been a Top Line Media production.